At a Rotary meeting.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence to honor Clark Johnson, then we'll have a convocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today with heavy hearts. We're hurting. Please watch over us, protect us, guide us, direct us. We know that Clark is at home and at peace. We know that you have a plan and that Clark fits into that plan. That makes our heavy hearts a little fuller, but please provide peace to his family. Help us show them how much they're loved and supported right now. Shelter our club, our community, as we go and try to work through this enormous loss that we're all experiencing. This Rotary Club was so important to Clark. Let us all dedicate ourselves to making it what it was in the eyes of Clark Johnson. As we're hurting here today in the Grange, we also know that Clark is no longer hurting. His faith was so strong. We know that you have replaced his pain, and help us remember the good times. It's in Christ's name we pray. I'm going to now ask Barbara Finnegan to introduce our visitors again.
Thank you, President Jason. Good morning. It was nice to see everyone today. Glad that you could make it. We have two visitors today. We have Jared Jones, who's a guest of Susan Ferguson, and he's part of the J.T. Jones Realtor. And we have Brett Bryan, who's a guest of Ken Miles. Let's welcome them, please.
Thank you, Barbara. We do have some birthdays and anniversaries to announce. March 25th, Ed Biggs' birthday. Also on the 25th, Jeff Brown's birthday. The 26th, Kathy Howard's birthday. And the 27th is Tom Malone's birthday. We have a lot of member anniversaries this week. On the 24th, George Bailey has 1 year. Gary Brubaker has 1 year, and Kylie Mathis has 1 year. And Ted Beeson has 23 years in the club. On the 26th, Willie Edmondson celebrates 14 years in our club. And on the 27th, Mike Wilson celebrates 3 years, Keith Sherman 9 years, and Mike Angstat 27 years of membership. And on the 28th, Susan Ferguson celebrates 15 years. So some heavy hitters on this week of inductions of membership. So congratulations to all those. And then we have a couple of wedding anniversaries as well. Richard and Judy Freeman celebrate 13 years on the 21st, and Taylor and Judy Merrill celebrate 55 years on the 25th. So congratulations. We do have a lot of club announcements today. First of all, as everyone's aware, Clark passed away yesterday. I don't have any details on the funeral arrangements yet. We will send out another update as soon as we have any information. I'd like to have y'all save the date of our annual banquet. Will be on Thursday, June 9th at LaGrange College. More information will come out about that, but just know that save that date, and also save the date. 4th of July parade is starting to get discussed and organized, so remember that we are marshals for that parade on the 4th of July. We're also still looking for sponsors for teams and holes and volunteers for the golf tournament on April 14th. If y'all remember, we had the Laws of Life presentation a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, about the essay contest that kids around the state do. They're still looking for judges. It's not too late. If you're interested, let me know. They have some video trainings that we can do to review that, and then just take a couple hours of your time to read some of those essays. On your tables, you see the metal buckets. That's to collect money. This is the last week for Ukraine relief that we've got some pretty good donations, but we can always use more. So we'll take that up this week and then submit all that.
We accept checks.
We accept checks. That's right. And then Connie Hensler is looking for volunteers to deliver and read the books, the packets that we assembled for the pre-K kids, and we're doing that the week after spring break. So
We have that.
okay, so just see Connie if you're available and interested, and we'll schedule where and when you'll need to go deliver and read those books to pre-K kids. I think that's all the announcements. We do have some club business that we need to take care of. Last week it was announced, and we're very excited that Connie Hensler has accepted the nomination to be president. So we've had a week to think about it, and now we need to vote on it. Hopefully everybody's still good with that. So I just want to take a quick club vote. All those in favor of Connie Hensler being the president, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Congratulations, got it very exciting. And now I would like to, we have a new member to induct into our club. I'd like to call George Bailey and Dante Lane up here. We have reviewed your proposal and it's gone to our board and to our membership. And we are glad to have you join our club. Dante, I'd like to ask George to introduce you real quick to the club.
I'm proud this afternoon to introduce your brother Dante Lane. And been knowing Dante probably about 2 years. As good as he's been here. He's been here a year. Ever since he came to the Chamber of Commerce and real active in our chamber. He's on the height board now. Covering a lot of ribbon cuttings. When I met him, he looked like I used to look. Real slim, trim. I had a little sick back. But he's doing a great job here. He's moving the shaker. He came up originally there in 5 Points, Alabama. Graduated here from LaGrange High, 2007. He have 2 children, Taylor and Zach. Graduated from Georgia Southern in business management in 2011. Serial entrepreneur, had a trucking company. Now he's in the insurance business here. He's giving back, serving the community. As I say, he's on the high board. He's now the treasurer for the Salvation Army. And now I want to be part of the Rotary Club. So I'm happy to introduce today Mr. Dante Lane.
So we listen to everything that George says to you, and the reason that we want you in this club is because our motto is service above self. It's obvious that that's your motto as well. We think that you will do your part and do a good job representing Rotary and everything that you do around our community. We're glad to have you part of it. We're glad to see what you're doing and what you will continue to do. So thank you very much. I'd like to put this pin on. Wear that with pride, and then I'd ask Karen you to now read to you our 4-way test that we give to all new members.
And Dante, welcome to the LaGrange Rotary, as we often say, the newest Rotarian in the world. We've got a Rotary plaque for you. We always use this time to remind all of us what Rotary stands for. The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
All right. I also want to say thanks to Trey Long for handling our meeting last week. I was out of town, and I was in Washington, D.C. last week, and I was walking to dinner, and I walked from our hotel to the restaurant right across the street in front of the White House, and I couldn't get a good picture of it because of all the blockade, so I had to walk a little bit, and I went to the park across the street from the White House, which is Lafayette Park. And I didn't put it together just because I was walking around. Well, to get a good picture where I was standing was right next to the statue of Lafayette. And I looked up and I took a picture and then I sent it to Clark last Wednesday. I said, I think you're the only person in the world that would be excited that I was standing right here, right now. And it was just a great, I'll hold that memory for a long time with Clark. And it was good. I was sad to miss our program, but I was glad to have that memory of Clark as one of my last members of Clark. I'd like to ask Sandra Taylor to come introduce our program today.
One second.
far enough away that I don't think I can go any further. Sorry about that. I want to introduce today Sergeant Thompson, who is the post commander of our LaGrange State Patrol Post. We have a very close working relationship because I prosecute the misdemeanor cases that come from there, which includes traffic as well as any other offense that may happen that's there in the line of their duty, except for felonies that go to the DA's office. Sergeant Thompson came to us last year?
May 1st.
May 1st of last year. I think it was about a year ago, but now I'm kind of getting confusing. And it's been a great opportunity to get to know him. He has been with the State Patrol since 2002 and was with the Fayette County Sheriff's Department for 13 years before that. His lifetime's been devoted to public service and to the State Patrol and keeping our roads safe. I had mentioned earlier, and we've been in conversations about how COVID has affected what they do. And it has pretty significantly affected what all of us in the court system do. But these guys were out there during times that everybody else holed up. Law enforcement didn't quit. And I appreciate them very much for continuing that process and working, closely with the court system to keep that system moving. And we would never be able to work as well and as smoothly if we didn't have them with us. There's some things that I had noticed that I think he's going to be able to speak about, and I don't know if any of you have noticed. During COVID, I started getting a lot of high-speed cases. I call them the triple-digit cases. And they are the ones that are out there having to take care of that on the interstates to keep it slowed down and to address those issues, and they work very hard at doing it. And most of all, and under Sergeant Thompson's leadership, it's been no different. The State Patrol Post is very fortunate here to have very professional officers and troopers, and Sergeant Thompson brought a couple of his with him, and I said, I'll introduce them, so they're kind of, I'll take care of it. He's got some of the greatest guys on the force out here, and they're operating under his good leadership. And I think we all can be thankful for him, but I wanted to bring some of them and bring to the club, an opportunity to hear from his perspective what's going on today in law enforcement. He also has a very interesting career in that he worked with the criminal interdiction unit. I didn't say anything about that to you and we discussed it, but you might throw in some of the description of what criminal interdiction does, but it's one of the high-end units of the State Patrol where they're specifically focusing on high crime, serious crime issues. So that, I'll turn it over to Sergeant Thompson.
I appreciate it, I really do. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to deal with this mic. I've spoken a lot. If I'm gonna step out behind this podium, is that okay?
No.
No? Okay, all right, sounds good. When I hear myself talk, it's kind of weird. I've spoken a lot of places, but I don't use the mic too much. All right, so now I'm in the house with you, right? Thanks, Miss Sadie, for the kind words. She was bragging too much. The leadership that I brought here is no different than my predecessors. All I did was pick up the torch and ran with it. Some of y'all might know, is everybody here from Truth County? Is anybody not from Truth County? We've got a few here. Does anybody know Scott Jeter, my predecessor? He did an excellent job, and he just laid a path that I'm just following along. And he did an excellent job, and that's all we do. And I'm hoping to give you observation insight on maybe what we do here at the State Patrol. Is everybody here? Has anybody here not gotten stopped by a trooper before? We've got a few, right? All right, we've got a few that have not gotten stopped, but we certainly have several here that have gotten stopped. So, did the State Patrol? Did you think to yourself when you got stopped, hey, that's really the nicest guy in the world? Did y'all think that at the moment out of those who did get stopped? No, you probably didn't. I'm not really expecting an answer. But when you get stopped, it's not your best day, correct? It's not your best day. We meet people. We generally do not meet people on their best days. We meet them at a traffic stop, Or more tragically, we meet them at a crash they've been involved with. And I'm sure y'all are all aware of all the crashes you see on the news and in the newspaper and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of, the challenges that we face, they are many, but one of the big basic challenges we meet is convincing people that we're actually here for you. We're not here for our purposes. We're here to do a job for you. We're here to keep you safe. We're here for your kids. We all have kids, and we're all very passionate about our job. The unfortunate thing is, because of the way the public generally meets us on their worst day, they generally don't think of us as the best people that, we don't come to mind as, the best people in the world. And we understand that, we get that. But I tell you, every trooper that I know, and especially them in Post 2 LaGrange, are very passionate about their job. And they all intend to do a great job in keeping everybody safe. While we all sometimes disagree on how that job should be done, every trooper that I've dealt with is very passionate about keeping everybody safe and bringing a good light on our profession and the state patrol. But I say that to say this: you will find a finer bunch than what you have here in LaGrange. I'm really blessed right now as far as the bunch that I have. I've got about 16 years of supervision experience, and I cannot say enough good things about the bunch that I have. They are definitely the best bunch collectively that I've had. I've never heard any of them complain. We have a high activity, high written post here. We work around 1,100 crashes a year at Post 2 LaGrange. That's 1,100 crashes a year. Let that sink in just for a minute. How many people? That's just 1,100 crashes. That's at least 2 people usually. Sometimes some of those are single vehicle accidents. But that's usually at least 2 people that are having a bad day. All right. Those are people with serious injuries. All right. Those are kids. And let me tell you, until you've seen a small child on the side of the road seriously injured, you don't appreciate or you don't understand the gravity of our job. Every one of the guys on the state patrol, they have to deal with this every day. While a normal person, a civilian may see things like that once in their lifetime, law enforcement, whether it be troopers, deputies, or city officers, or whatever the case may be, they see it dozens, possibly hundreds of times a year. So it is a stressful job, and I tell you what, you gotta applaud the law for stepping up, taking that, and continuing to do their job. And as far as the best guys that I have that you have, your community, one of them, Trooper Brandon Smith, he belongs to you here at Post 2 LaGrange. He got a Trooper of the Year for 2020. He was awarded that last year. Now, it was well deserved, because while we appreciate all the community awards that we get, this is a statewide award. All right, this wasn't awarded to him by by a city of a population of 15. This was the entire state. His competition was about 850 other troopers and about 400 motor carry officers and about 100 Capitol PD officers. The dedication that this man showed to the job is exemplary, and he does things like, Brandon, you correct me if I'm wrong, but he worked a crash. He worked in the investigation of a fatal crash, and he went to the hospital and consoled the family in his operating time. That's the kind of trooper that you have here in the LaGrange. Now, he got the award. He did that. That's not unusual for him. But let me tell you, it's not unusual for any of my guys at the post, any of your troopers serving you here in this area, to do that time. So I want to give him some special recognition on that today. He's gonna help me out here during the presentation. We're gonna get BJ in a minute. All right. But just, I don't want to kill you with any statistics. I don't want this to be a death by numbers session. But just to give you some idea of where you stand in Georgia. Now, in 2019, we were hacked. Our computer infrastructure was hacked. So the data prior from 2019 and earlier is not reliable. But I'm going to give you a few numbers just so you have some perspective of where we stand. In 2019, now what was happening in 2019? I'm sorry? We had all kind of stuff going in 2019, right? We had COVID, we had violent protests. We were very busy in 2019. I'm not here to get into politics of any of that. But in 2019, we had six fatalities here in Trigg County. 6 fatality crashes that we had to investigate. Now, think that's a high number? Just what do you think? Think that might be a high number or a low number? It sounds high, doesn't it? That's 6 families that were deprived of a member in 2019, just in Trigg County alone. Statewide, there was 470. That's statewide. That was 2019. Now, was there a lot of traffic on the road and all that was going on? When the state was shut down, traffic went down, didn't it? And like Ms. Sanders said, we had speeders. The little traffic that was out there, we discussed this. The low amount of traffic out there was people who were flying, they were taking advantage of the situation. Not all of them, of course, but there was a lot of them. Some of them simply had to be out of the road. But there was a lot of unnecessary traffic out there that was taking advantage of the roads, and they were getting themselves in trouble. Not only that, they were putting every trooper, every law enforcement officer out there that was charged with enforcing the law, they were putting them at risk, not only having to chase them down, but also being exposed to COVID. Because I'm sure everybody in this room remembers what a scary time that was. We were facing something that really was unprecedented for everybody in this room. We were facing something an enemy we did not see. Didn't know where it was, didn't know anything about it. Of course, fortunately, things had calmed down some. But that was 2019. Now then, in 2020, 9 fatalities in Trigg County. Again, 9 families. Now that doesn't mean that necessarily residents of Trigg County. What that means is it happened within the county lines of Trigg County. 9 fatalities. 1,664 in Georgia. All right, and I got you wrong on that other number. It's 470 crashes in Trigg County in 2019, 1,492 in the state of Georgia. But in 2020, we went up to 9 fatalities. What happened? Traffic started coming back. As COVID was still a thing, but we were starting, people only gonna stay cooped up in the houses for so long, right? 2020, traffic started coming back a little bit. We had 9 fatalities. Of course, that meant the fatalities were going up. Fatality crashes. We went up from 6 to 9, just in Trigg County alone. Now, of course, in Trigg, as opposed to LaGrange, we also work Harris County. The numbers I'm going to give y'all, I'm basically telling you what this means to you. All right, if I was in Harris County, I'd be talking about Harris County. But anyway, we had the numbers went up from 1,492 to 1,664 crashes statewide. In just Trigg County alone, we went from 470 to 667 crashes. That's almost 200 crashes we went up. But you know what happened to our personnel at LaGrange? It went down. Did it not go down, right? And we lost people. And it wasn't for me fault of our own. We had some just promote out and transfer to other areas. Just the inherent things that any organization's gonna have. But this is something about the troopers there. They all stepped up. With that much of an increase, the ones that were still there did a great job, and they stepped up, they pulled their bootstraps up, and they got busy. They were busy early, they knew it was coming, and they stepped up and got it done. All right? Now then, that was 2020. They apparently did a good job, because in 2021, we went down. We went from 9 fatalities to 8 fatalities. Now still, that's 8 people. 8 people who lost a family member. Somebody lost a son, daughter, mother, sister, daughter, that kind of thing. But we did do something right because we did preach. We went down one. And it's just like the little boy throwing all the starfish that was washed up on the shore. He was throwing the starfish back, and somebody came along and says, you know, son, there's thousands of starfish on the laying up here that's going to die. Well, what do? You're not making a difference, do you? Well, the little boy picked up starfish and he threw that one back in the ocean. He said, it made a difference to that one. So that's what we got to do. We got to deal with every one individually. The numbers sound good. We're going to deal with everyone individually, and your troopers here in state patrol know that. So anyway, we did something right. In 2021, we went down. As far as crashes, they did go about, they did get a little bit higher. They went as far as in the territory, it went up to 1,000 crashes. But fortunately, a little over 1,000. But fortunately, most of them, the vast majority of them were no injuries, or at least non-life-threatening injuries. So I'm proud of that number that we did go down some. We went up in crashes, but whatever we can do to pull that down is great. 2022, we've had 2 fatality investigations here in Troup County already. We're already in March. That's going to be about normal. I don't think we've had any on calling us having any in Harris County or I'll call it. But in Troup County, we had 2, and y'all may have heard of them. You remember the one you might have heard about the one on Hogansville Road. That was one of them. But anyway, any fatality is bad, right? But my guys are still stepping up, and I say my guys. That's only because they're assigned to me and I'm assigned to them. They're actually your guys. I'm yours, they're yours, we're here to serve you. But still, we're early in Troup County. We're still early in 2022, so we'll see what the rest of the year brings. But I can tell you this, what do you think our numbers have been at the post as far as our personnel? No, it has not went up, all right? We're still running, right now we're running 8 people. And I'm not complaining to you, I'm just letting you know why when you get a wreck, why sometimes it takes us 30 or 45 minutes to get there. We're right now running 7 troopers, and that's including me except for 2 counties. So I just tell you that so you can appreciate why it might take us a while to get there. But more so than that, I want to use that to showcase just how hard people like Brandon and BJ work. All right. They are really hard working, just like everybody is in the post. Now, I've told you all the numbers and stuff that, can put some folks to sleep. But what does this mean to you in Troup County? What are we doing here for y'all? That would be, if I was sitting in your seat, that would be the big question to me. That's all great, but what's it doing for me? I think I heard this. Anyway, I can tell you, this is what I'll tell you on that. We're doing everything we can, we'll lead off with that. But some of the more specific things we do is we're addressing selective enforcement in high crash areas as best we can. Now, with only 7 working troopers, it's hard to send somebody to a certain road when if you only got 1 or 2 working and they're working crashes. But that's what we do. That's one of the things we do. We selectively pick areas to patrol based on traffic patterns, based on the crash counts in that area. All right. some of the other things, we work in collaboration with Ms. Sam's office, solicitor's office, and try to come up with ways to enforce laws in the most fair way possible. All right. Some of the other things we do is road checks. And nobody likes to go through a road check, right? I'll talk about the technology side of it here in a little bit. But some of these crashes, most of our crashes were simply somebody had a bad day. They turned a little too soon, or they didn't use the blinker, or they looked down at the phone or something, and when they shouldn't have. But there's too many of them that involve impaired driving. Impaired driving, DUI. That's what that is. And everybody thinks, and I know every trooper that I have stopped plenty of people and that were impaired, and they didn't realize those, my doctor prescribed this, or this is just over the counter night. Everybody knows that if you had too many Mai Tais or margaritas, that's impaired driving, that's DUI. But what a lot of folks don't seem to realize is if you go out and if you go to bed, let's say you start to go to bed and you haven't done some night. If you drive right then or soon thereafter, you're driving impaired and you can go to jail for it. So if you take a prescribed medication and there's a warning on the side of the bottle, could cause dizziness, could cause drowsiness, and you get out there and drive, and you have a wreck, and you cause one of the fatalities that we talk about, then of course you suffer severe penalties, both criminally and civil. A lot of folks don't realize that. So it's our job to make y'all aware of that, if you're not already, and do whatever we can to deter this from happening, because we don't want it to happen. What we would like to do, I would like to be able to stand up here and say, yes, under my supervision, we had 8 fatalities in 21 and 0 fatalities in 22. But that's not going to happen. We know that. But what we can do best is handle the problem before it happens. And that's by education. That's by me telling you, our guys telling you to go out and educate kids. The impaired driving is definitely something that it has many challenges. And Ms. Sandra Taylor can give you a presentation on the different things, the different ways that defense attorneys come up and try and battle those impaired driving. Now, where this is very difficult to get conviction on impaired driving these days. Now, again, I'm not getting into the politics of all that. Fair is fair. If there's a loophole in the law not written the way it is, a defense attorney's only doing a good job by exploiting that. I mean, you can't blame him. That's what he gets paid to do. But those are some of the challenges. Impaired driving doesn't discriminate at all. You know, you've seen the news, you've seen gazillionaires getting arrested for DUI. And when all this happens, these attorneys, they have the money and the resources to combat things like the civil rights aspect of it and all that kind of stuff. The arrest rights, the search and seizure process. And that's why it becomes more challenging to prosecute an impaired driver. There, how does that affect me? I just make sure my guys are ready for this. We in state patrol, that's one of our main things, investigating crashes and speed enforcement, which of course includes impaired driving. We have to make sure that we're all ready for it. We're up on the new laws, the new trends, all the new impaired field sobriety training. We get tools like portable breath testers, all those kind of things to help us do our job. We have to update our people on case laws that come up. So that's what I'm charged to do with these guys. And I hope that we do a good job of it. But impaired driving just goes to say that don't do it. Buzz driving is impaired driving, just like the Mercer said. Another thing too is these seatbelts. Now, culture has changed on what we the way we look at, restraining driving. When I was a kid, and I'm sure like many of you are, I grew up on a farm. We rode in the backseat of the truck as little kids. We sat up on that toolbox. I remember going to Florida in my mom's car, laid up in the back deck, on that behind the seat. You know what I'm talking about? I'm sure we've all, I see a lot of folks shaking their heads. Yeah, that's what we used to do, and nobody thought nothing of it, right? I kind of hated my son and daughter didn't get to have that same luxury, but they don't. A lot of these fatalities I told y'all about, these serious injuries, they could have been affected, could have been saved, they could have been avoided by somebody simply taking a half second to put their seatbelt on. I'll tell you a story that, if I haven't put you to sleep already, another one might put you to sleep. The first serious driving course that I had was emergency vehicle operator's course, and this was back when I started in 1989 and went to the academy. Those kind of classes were not mandatory. My first police academy was only 6 weeks long. 6 weeks long, can you imagine that? I've got more instructor classes now than that. But anyway, the sheriff that I was working for at the time, though, he decided that he was going to send all of his people to the EVOC, emergency vehicle operator course, where you actually got in the car and you drove. Now, at the time, wearing a seatbelt was, or not wearing a seatbelt was not the law. But we talked about, I saw the data that they had in the class before we went out on the track and all that kind of thing. And my son, he was just a baby at the time. They told us when we graduated from that class, the instructor said, now don't go out here next week and get in a crash and because you're trying to drive crash. Well, I didn't wait till the next week. I graduated on a Friday, and Saturday I was hanging upside down in a overturned vehicle. But I had decided after that course to wear a seatbelt. If I had not had that course, I would not have had my seatbelt on. So I'm living proof that it happened. Now, not only that, but I restrained my son in the car. I wasn't driving crazy. I just kind of threw that in there. Somebody hit me, and we were end up running. We rolled, but we didn't roll side over side, which is bad enough. We flipped in the marine and came down on our roof, and we were all hanging. Me and all three of us, we were all hanging now. If I hadn't had my seatbelt on, that would have been much more tragic, especially with a small child who was sitting there. I just tell you stories like that, so maybe when you click it up, you think about that stupid Jay Thompson hanging upside down. And I remember when I undid the seatbelt and broke glass out of me, I fell, of course, cut my ear, and that's the worst injury I had. So please, wear your seatbelt. I promise you. I've heard people all the time say, well, I know so-and-so that they would not have died or they would not have gotten hurt real bad if they hadn't had their seatbelt on. Well, that may be true, and I'm not calling you a liar. However, we see hundreds, I read y'all the stats, we see hundreds of wrecks all the time. And I can't remember not a single one where the person was wearing his seatbelt properly, now I stress properly, that they would have died if they'd had it on. Now, I do know a couple where they were wearing it improperly and it actually caused somebody to have a problem. But the fatalities that I've seen where somebody had their seatbelt on, it was one of those things where it was going to be a fatality whether they had it on or not, if that makes sense. So, our culture nowadays, you can sit out here and watch the road, most people are going to have it on. If you don't have it on, if you know somebody don't have it on, please, I encourage you to spread the word and try and help us keep from having that other talent we talk about. But some of the other things, anybody got any questions so far? I know we're going to have a Q&A here in a little bit. Anybody need clarification on anything I've talked about so far? 2 minutes. Okay. Yes, sir.
Cell phone.
Yes, sir.
You read, obviously, the statistics on crashes and things like that. Is there any kind of data on cell phone use causing those crashes?
I don't have any data available to me without doing some serious digging. The problem is though, is you really don't know. You go to a crash, and that's one of the things we try to investigate before we make a final determination. But it is very difficult. You can tell a lot of times in this crash, this shouldn't happen. They were distracted by something. But obviously, no, very few people are going to admit that. Every now and then you run across somebody that does. The laws, civil laws, the Constitution doesn't allow us to search cell phones without some kind of probable cause or consent or something like that. So we do search them sometimes, but we have to follow the process to search them. So anyway.
So you may not want to answer this. So what do you think about the legislature talking about saying it's okay to use your cell phone when you stop at a stop?
Well, again, I don't want to get into politics with this. One would think if you're stopped at a stop sign, or a red light or whatever, you'd be safe. The problem is when that light turns green, what are you going to do? You're not going to just stop. You're not going to say, hey, stop. You're not going to hang up your phone. Another thing too is I'm sure everybody in here has probably been behind somebody at a red light, and that red light turns green, and you're waiting, and you're waiting, and you're waiting. Come on, get that last tweet out. Get done with that last post. So my personal opinion, I don't want to get into the specifics, but time's short, right? I do want to introduce a new guy. I say a new guy. He's full-fledged trooper. He's our most recent graduate. I want to let him take y'all through our steps of modern training. When I first started, we only had an old antique radio on the transmission hunt, and that was it. Now we have all kinds of technology in our cars, and you remember I told you 6 weeks. I want to let this man give you some insight about what a trooper has to go through today before he's cut loose. I'd like to introduce you all. It's my pleasure to introduce. I've already introduced Brandon, BJ Perugla. He has a PhD, so it's Dr. Perugla. I would love, he asked me not to say that, but I'm like, I'm proud of it. So anyway, without further ado.
BJ folks, my last name is Perugla. It's very common. I'm just kidding. Nobody can say it. So, thanks for having me. Yes, I'm kind of an oddball with the troopers. Sergeant Thompson, back in the day, most people went into law enforcement, went into the state patrol, came from some type of law enforcement background, or they spent some years in the radio room through communications, then they went to the state patrol. I'm having an organization that represents a vast array, diversity of people who they're looking to hire. They're hiring the best of the best. I'm not saying the best of the best. I was the oldest guy with the troopers school, turned 49 in troopers school. We started out with 97, lost 21 pounds in the first 2 weeks. The state patrol for Georgia, just so you know what we go through versus what Sergeant Thompson was referring to. The state of Georgia's patrol program is the second longest in the nation. There's only one other state that outranks us in terms of law enforcement. Correct. We spend 6 months in very intensive mind, physical, and emotional training. Troopers are a little different than your locals. We are by ourselves out there. So everything we go through is prepared to handle any situation by ourselves. Young people I speak to, I used to be a principal. I'm weird. I'm just career hopping here. But young people I speak to, it's all about how you speak to people. And the academics play a small part, but it's a huge part. We have to know laws that other people don't. It never impressed upon me until I arrived on the scene before that once the state patrol gets there, it's kind of like, oh, okay, they got it. All right. Yes, physical training beyond belief. First day, just so you guys know, we have a physical test we have to pass before we get to troop school. They made us do another test there. Then that day, they handed us 25-pound sandbags. That was our personal budget. And in the parking lot at 9:30 at night, for any of you who have military background, they smoked us. They punished us in the parking lot. 4 hours sleep, go to physical training. Because you never know what we're going to encounter. Sergeant Thompson referred to in 2019, several civil unrest. Well, the troopers got 2 hours of sleep, barely. And they still had to go out there and help protect the citizens. We go through a lot of training. We go through a lot of academic training, learning law. So even if you have a criminal justice background, I don't, it doesn't matter. We go through a lot of law training, a lot of legal training. We go through a lot of mind and physical training. What Sergeant Thompson referred to as driving. The local agencies only have to pass 3 tests. We end up having to pass almost 9 to 12 different tests just to drive. These are what we do. Firearms, that's where I met Sergeant Thompson. He was my firearms instructor. He politely berated me when I didn't make a good shot. But locals only have to pass certain things. We have to qualify in 3 different weapons. Okay? We don't want to use it. We never want to draw this. Okay? We also have to get tased, pepper sprayed, everything that we encounter with someone, we have to go through. And ma'am, I know you did that. Well, I did that too. But the reason is, and you'll notice this with the State Patrol, Sergeant Thompson alluded to earlier, our job is to educate the public. So even out there, if Trooper Smith, before he's going to tase someone, he's going to tell him, look, I've been hit with this. Do you really want to hit this? And Paul Burke, do you want to know? Oh my gosh. I felt like a newborn when I got hit. I didn't see her talk for 45 minutes. All right. But we go through a lot so we can educate the public. Okay. And Sergeant Thompson was referring to seatbelts. A lot of times we can explain to someone, look, wearing a seatbelt under your arm, I can only stop this part. Okay, and go through that background. And again, a lot of it has to do with the preparation you go through and bringing people from diverse backgrounds. State Patrol, one thing I'm proud to be part of, is an organization that not only represents different people of this type, okay, but also represents people of different socioeconomic backgrounds and different lifestyles. And troopers are very welcome, and it helps as we talk to people. Because the goal of our job is to make, I never appreciated until Sergeant Thompson and others told me this, I've had more people thank me for giving them a ticket than like, for those of you who know Italian, doing something under the chin or something like that. Okay, but that's what we're trained to do, and a lot of that has to do with who we're hiring now. Okay, we welcome anybody, but can they go through the program? Just to give you another statistic, 97 of us in our trooper school, 34 graduates. Yeah. It is very rigorous. And when I came home but we were a weird class because of COVID. COVID affected us too. My wife looked at me like, just the sheer amount of weight, which got excited, but the sheer amount of weight and also things like that too. So it's very intensive. I'm proud to be not only a brother with brothers, but we also have sisters on the force and others. But one thing you also notice about us and our great relationship with the law enforcement in general, if you see a LaGrange PD pulled over, we'll flash lights to make sure they're okay. Because at the end of the day, it's all about supporting each other. And that's what we're here to do. Sergeant Thompson will always tell you this, if you ever need us to come speak to groups, especially kids, please let us know. Okay? Please let us know. We welcome that opportunity. Because when I was a principal, it was great. With law enforcement, military work, we walked into my high school, lunch was on me, as long as you sat with kids. Okay? So, I thank you for your time, and I thank you for letting me share my stories. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much, Sergeant Troopers. We appreciate y'all being out there for us, keeping us safe, everything you do. Thank you very much. And we will try not to outrun you and stay clear of this space.
One last thing.
Yes, sir.
I mentioned those small numbers. I mean, if you got any relatives or anything, we're hiring. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
If anybody has any questions about field sobriety tests and less safe DUIs where people don't comply with the tests and the science of those tests, take advantage of that now. So I'm not educating people on jury about how accurate that science is. These guys all know, and Ken Gordon probably knows. But the accuracy of those tests is amazing. And if you've got any questions, sorry to throw you under the bus, catch them, and they'll tell you about what happened on the side of the road with DUI stop. Ask them now.
All right, so next week we will feature a update from the Goodwills, Southern Rivers group, and we are adjourned. Board members, we have a meeting next door right now.
What's up, man? I think you stopped me one time with the cell phone. Probably did. You gave me a break. I was coming here. Were you over there back in the Yeah, that be me. I appreciate that when you go there. You told me you said, put the cell phone down. Y'all was trying to find, calendar. Yeah. I appreciate that, sir. I thought that was you. Congratulations. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Reconcile a little bit, and then I'll reach out to everybody. Let's do it. So I'll touch base with you. Side to side. You got 4 back. This way.
Thank you.
Sure.